You know, if you want to get better, you're going to have to practice. Practicing something is probably one of the least glamorous things to do. You know, everybody sees the beautiful lettering that people do, the beautiful art that people make, the beautiful music that people play, and they think, gosh, I wish I could be that talented or that awesome or that whatever. Like taking musical prodigies and phenomenal, like those things, and set those to the side for a second. But regular ass people like you and me can get better at things like lettering or art or music, but you gotta practice. You're not gonna be able to just pick up the pen or pick up the flute or pick up the whatever and be like, look at me, all fucking awesome. It doesn't work like that. You gotta practice to get there first. And we all know this. Intellectually, we know this. We don't always like to do it. Practicing can be a pain in the ass. And you know, this is truth. And if you think that practicing is always fun and always amazing, then I don't know if my videos are the right ones for you. That's not true. I love having everybody here, everybody. But anyway, so I'm going to be doing this beta. I plan on doing a couple of videos at least addressing practicing, because maybe more than a couple, who knows? And I want to address practicing because it is so important, and yet it is so hard to fucking do sometimes. We're gonna try and ease our way into the pool of practicing. Ease gently in there. And the first thing I want to talk to you about, because after all, if you're anything like me, you love to have all the things, be prepared, buy all the things, know you have all the stuff you need. And if that's the case, then what do you need to practice? Well, there are a lot of things you can get. But now we're gonna be talking about a practice lettering journal. Okay, something that you can bring with you where you go. And it doesn't have to be fancy, but you can get fancy. So we're gonna talk about that for a second. Let's review, shall we? What do you actually need to practice lettering? You need your hand, you need a pen of whatever flavor you use, and what pen you use is a whole different video. And you need something to write upon, or in art terms, it's the substrate. We're not gonna call it that. That sounds too arty. So you need the thing you write on, right? This is your journal. This is your lettering journal. My first recommendation to you, to not go and spend all your money, because the goal of practicing is to burn through as much paper as possible. You wanna practice the shit ton of it. And each thing you practice isn't gonna be beautiful. They're gonna be a hell of fuck ups. You're gonna need to fuck up a lot to get to where you wanna be. You're never going to get fabulous if you don't fuck up a lot. You got to commit yourself. Say right here and right now that, Cindy, yes, I'm with you. I am committing to fucking up multiple times in my pursuit of lettering mastery. You don't want to spend too much money on a practice journal, especially at first, because you're going to be filling it up with things that you're not necessarily in love with. And if you have a beautiful journal, you might be too afraid to write in it. Shout out in the comments if you have bought things before and you've never used them because you're like, this is so pristine, I don't want to screw it up. Let me know if I'm the only one who does this or not. But if you want to buy things, now I'm going to recommend to you my simplest form of practice, and this may work better at home because this doesn't always get tossed neatly into your bag or wherever, because you want to have your practice shit on you at all times so that when you have a few extra minutes, you can bust it out and bust some things out. Just bust a lettering nut all over the page. Sorry, that was grosser than I intended. This is not actually full of graph paper. This is full of other paper, but I'm using it as an example because I couldn't find the other binder I wanted to use. A binder and cheap ass graph paper are great for practicing because you can buy this graph paper hella cheap. You keep it in here so you can see where you started and where you're going, and you can go through a shit ton of this, not spend that much money, and get a lot of practicing done. That doesn't go in your purse nicely though. So I may suggest to you that you buy some other things. Now, a notebook is generally the accepted lettering practice situation, and there are so many notebooks out there. And if my lighting's all fucking weird in this video, I'm trying really hard to control it, and somehow it's not being controlled. So I don't know, whatever. So a good question is, what pattern of paper, it's like a hair in my face, what pattern of paper do I use for practicing? Do you use lined paper? And if lined, college ruled, wide ruled, or that like special practice rule? Do I use graph paper? Do I use dot grid paper? Do I use blank paper? Well, that's personal preference, and it depends on where you are in your lettering journey as to what could possibly be more handy for you. However, my suggestion, especially for people who are in their beginner kind of throes of lettering, is graph paper. And the reason I say graph paper, and not just cheap graph paper, but like the graph style of paper, is because these boxes help you get more consistent. If all you're looking to do is make your handwriting better, graph paper is going to help you so much in staying consistent. If you're working on making different styles of lettering and you're struggling making sure your letters don't look all wonky and off kilter because the sizing's all off, graph paper helps with that. Graph paper is wonderful for practicing keeping things straight when you once you go on to blank paper. If you've gotten practice at writing in a straight line, because I suck at that, graph paper can help you practice that. Graph paper can help you with spacing in between letters. Graph paper can help you with all sorts of things. I'm a big proponent of the graph paper. However, when I practice, unless I'm working on a new font, I usually practice on plain paper because I like to freeball it and I don't like to be boxed in by your lines. This is just cardstock. This is the paper I burn through the most because I love working on cardstock. I'm heavy-handed and the thickness of cardstock handles the iron fist that I place upon my Sharpie. But regardless, if I was going to tell you between plain lined dot grid or regular graph paper grid, I would suggest graph paper grid, but that's a personal preference, all right? Now you can think of different things to do. You can get like a traditional spiral bound notebook, whether it's like an 8.5 by 11, like school sized notebook, or it's like an Erin Condren size 7 by 9 bound or ring bound notebook with like one of these monthly calendar situations, the Deluxe monthly calendars from Erin Condren. Like you could get one of these and track any lettering challenges you're doing. I'm totally bonking my microphone. Holy shit, this is a hot mess video. These are nice because you can track the challenges you're doing. You could work with the lined paper in the back, but it also has grid paper. And doesn't this have grid paper? Question mark? No, these don't. Planners do. Your planner has grid paper and whatever. Fucking don't pay attention to me. Those are nice. Those can work. You can also use like bound notebooks of whatever kind. Like this is a Inkwell Press journal that has the rings on the side. And this one actually has the graph paper in it. And I've used these ones before for lettering. Let me see if I can find. I've used this for lettering as practice before, and that's fun, but they can be more expensive. They can be pricey, depends on what you want to spend. Soft-bound notebooks are wonderful because you can toss them in your purse and you don't have to be precious with them. Like soft-bound notebooks, I've got, what do I have here? It feels like I'm like an Erin Condren pimping out in this, but when I went to go like grab from my plethora of notebooks, I just happen to have a lot of Erin Condren notebooks. But these are all like softer bound notebooks, and we have this big puppy soft-bound. And this has dot grid in it, and I've used this for lettering practice, as you can see, right? Or you can use, this is the little journals that Erin Condren does, and this one has grid in it, like graph paper grid, works for practicing. I also have and I did not, the fuck did I put it? It was behind me. So this one is one from my recent haul from Michael's. These are the, what are they, Molly and Rex. $10 for a 3-pack, and this one has a grid in it, and I, no joke, have been lettering practice in this one. So, these are nice, soft, inexpensive, and I have no issues burning through these and practicing on them, but that's just me. You also can get a May Designs book, and these May Designs books are great because you can personalize the covers if you want to. You can get the dot grid, or you can get the regular grid, or they even have like a calligraphy practice one of these. So those are fun, and again, they're small and can go in your purse, and they actually make, Foxy Fix does it. I know other Traveler's Notebook groups do, or people do them where you can make these and throw them into a Traveler's Notebook, and that is actually Traveler's Notebooks. This is what I use for my lettering everyday challenge, is actually inserts squished into one of these Traveler's Notebooks. And I do that because it's small and I can toss it in my purse if I'm going to be on the road or whatnot, get my lettering done in these puppies. Good to go. Right? I'm using printable inserts for this. But this, to me, is convenient and kind of fun and kind of small, and it works for me. But you have to find the thing that works for you. I will say, Traveler's Notebooks, especially if you're printing your own inserts, not necessarily great for burning through a lot of practice paper because fuck, I hate cutting inserts out. And if I did that for the amount that I practice in other places, I don't think I'd like that. You can also do hardbound notebooks. And like I said, Erin Condren's got these guys, the hardbound notebooks. I love the cover. by the way, but they're lined. So unless you want, like, if you like lined okay, this could work. You could also get one of the bullet journal-y style, like the Scribbles That Matter, or the Leuchtturm. Did I get it right this time? Leuchtturm. These notebooks, because you can get them with dot grid, with regular, I keep fucking losing this shit today. With that, in these things, and a lot of the times the paper can stand up well. But again, these are a little bit more pricey, and if you don't want to blow through the paper in these, then that might not be your best bet. But if you want like something fancy that has like a strap and looks nice in your purse when you take it out of the doctor's office to practice writing over and over again, then one of these might be good for you. So you never know. I will share in the land of hardcover notebooks what I use for some of my lettering practice, and it's a little bit more expensive. It's my Moleskine watercolor notebook. It's the same, not quite the same size as one of these, but similar size, standard Moleskine size, I think. But instead of opening like this, it's actually like this. Open it like this, and it's because this has watercolor paper in it. And I use this to practice lettering with different, like you can see here, I was just practicing with different watercolor pens, like paint pens, things that, you know, I was writing Celebrate a lot because I was doing it for getting ready to do a bunch of stuff for a church situation where we were writing Celebrate a lot. I'm not just because I'm obsessed with that word, but like I use this to test out a lot of things. And something like this could work really well if you're working with water brushes or with ink, like bristle tip pens that need something stronger than standard ass paper. That was a lot of different notebooks. And I didn't even like begin to touch on the deep well of notebooks that exists out there. Like your lettering journal should be able to accomplish something very specific for you. And that specific thing is that it all opens up for you the opportunity to practice a shit ton. That's what it should do. You shouldn't feel precious about it. Your lettering journal should not be like, if I want things to be perfect and lovely, I'm trying to keep this thing that way. I'm not using this to practice lettering because I want this or my planner to look really, to be happy with it as much as I can be, you know? And I mean, I can't resign myself to perfection. Perfection doesn't always happen, but I want to make sure that the stuff that stays in there stays nice. But when I practice lettering, I want it to be like this. I want it to be a bunch of malarkey where I'm not even afraid of fucking pages up and having them look all like, you know, nothing looks perfect, and I'm testing things out and I'm trying different things. Your lettering journal, your lettering practice journal, at its very core, should facilitate for you, should make available for you the space to practice all the time, wherever you can. Because building that muscle memory is what's going to get you better. Even though practicing isn't glamorous, it will get you to the glamorous stuff. And that's what all the pros know. The pros know that you have to practice every day to be able to get to where you want to be. I'm starting to sound like Tony Robbins, so I think I'm going to end this here. But I want to know what your favorite practice journal is, if you have one. Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next time.